and read your book today. Diary of Wimpy Kid, Big Shot. But I guess the Woodleys never cleaned out their cooler from summer vacation because there were some leftovers in there too. There were even a half-filled bottle of ketchup and a full bottle of mustard in the cooler. But Yusuf and Ruby weren't too choosy about the refreshments. Gulp, glub, glug, glug. I guess they figured they'd take every bite of fuel they could get. Coach kept Yusuf in for the whole first half, and he was so sweaty that he had to wiring out his jersey. But I wish he had wrung it out into the cooler because there were still some bottles of water in there. Like I said, everyone was fired up after that coach speech by Coach Panel, but I guess those guys in Scotland had something we didn't. But the second half of the game started off a lot like the first. Things got so out of control in the fourth quarter that Coach Panel put me and the rest of the bench in. But if he was hoping we'd give our team a spark and turn things around, he must have been pretty disappointed. Oof. To be honest, I can't even remember what the final score was. All I remember was that on the ride home, Mom said our coach should have run different players and that I should have got more playing time. The only thing Dad said was that if this golf, we would have won because we had the lowest score, and I guess they were both trying to make me feel better, but it didn't really work. Sunday. Moms always say how sports bring people together, but I think she might just actually be wrong all about that because in my experience, sports are just tears us apart. The people in my town don't like the surrounding towns because they always beat us in sports. But the town we hate the most is Slackville, because those guys always destroy us. It's been going on like this since before I was born, and whenever an old-timer in my town went to Slackville, they always split. Reckon I gotta go into Slackville to get my vacuum cleaner fixed. Patu, yup. Patu. My town issues with Slackville go a lot deeper than sports. Though about 100 years ago, we were supposed to get a jewelry factory in our town, which would have brought in a lot of jobs and money, but some bigwigs from Slackville swooped in at the last minute and stole the factory from us. These days, Slackville's got all the good stuff and like a mall and 2 golf courses, and and all we've got to show ourselves is an abandoned drive-in movie theater and a macaroni stop shop. So we're always looking for ways to get back at those guys, and since we can't beat them in sports, we have to be creative. Last year, the state was planning on putting a big garbage dump in our town, but we made some changes to our zoning laws. So the state had been to put the dump in Slacksville instead. And I've heard they're not too happy about it either. It seemed like things were gonna change for a few months back when the mayor of Slacksville called our mayor saying he wanted to make a peace offering. Every year our town has a giant bonfire in the park on the 4th of July, and this year the people of Slacksville wanted to donate the wood. The timing was great because our town was out of money for recreational stuff, and couldn't afford to do the bonfire this year anyway. So our mayor gave the plan the green light, and a few days later trucks started showing up from Slacksville with piles of lumber, and they even set it all up for free. But right before we lit the fire on the 4th of July, our health inspector came by the town park and said the wood from Slacksville was chemically treated, so we couldn't burn it because it would release dangerous fumes into the air. The next day, our mayor called the mayor of Slacksville and told him he'd have to send him some howl wood someone to howl the wood away. But I guess the mayor already knew the wood was full of chemicals and thought the whole thing was pretty hilarious. So now we've got a giant pile of rotting lumber in the middle of our town park, and this fall the preschoolers had to play their soccer games around it. But the soccer season got cut short when a bunch of animals moved into the wood pile, and everyone agreed it was too dangerous for kids to keep playing near it. Yes. So I guess Slacksville has the last laugh, at least for now. The reason I'm bringing this stuff up is because today was our first away game, and of course it was in Slacksville. I got a queasy feeling when we drove past the sign because I hadn't been there in years. Welcome to Slacksville, Jewelry Town. Our game was at Slacksville High, and their gym was way better than ours. The court looked brand new, and I didn't see a single piece of gum on the floor. The gym was packed before we got there, and people started booing during warm-ups. Boo! Only a few of our parents showed up to cheer us on. I had a carpool to the game with Edward merely because Mom said she needed to go with Dad to Manny's preschool play. But I kind of wonder if Mom bailed on me because she knew what was in store for our team in Slacksville. I was pretty anxious for the game to get started so I could take my spot at the end of the bench, but there were already people sitting in that spot. And there wasn't any room for me. There was an empty space a few rows up the stand, so when the game started, that's where I went. But I was afraid people were gonna notice that I wasn't from Slacksville and give me a hard time. So whenever the crowd booed my team, I did too. Boo! Ooh. It was actually pretty easy to do because we got off another terrible start. Slacksville started the game by hitting a deep three-pointer, and then they stole the ball and hit another one. And before long, they were ahead by 20 points. I thought that once they built up a lead, they'd start to take it easy on us. But I guess everyone in Slacksville is still sore over the garbage dump because they never let up. They started running a full court press, which meant we couldn't even get the ball past half court. In fact, we couldn't even get the ball in play because those Slacksville kids were all over us. Because Coach Patel was yelling at our team from the sideline, but his voice drowned out by the Slacksville crowd. Honk! Aroo!